A simple maid accidentally boards a billionaire's jet. Now she's on a trip to the Maldives. Want more stories that feel like they were made just for you? Like, subscribe, and you won't miss a single one. The sound of jet engines warming up cuts through the morning air at Teterboro Private Airport. Two identical white aircraft sit side by side on the tarmac, their chrome surfaces gleaming under harsh fluorescent lights. Chaos erupts around them. Where's the Hayes luggage? A man in a navy blazer shouts over the engine noise, clipboard trembling in his hands. Jasmine Williams adjusts her worn cleaning cart, the wheels squeaking against polished concrete. At 24, she moves with the efficiency of someone who's learned that being invisible is safer than being noticed. Her natural curls are tucked beneath a faded headscarf, her plain gray uniform bearing the small logo of Premier Airport Services. She's supposed to be heading to the staff shuttle after her overnight shift cleaning the terminal lounge. Instead, she finds herself caught in a whirlwind of tailored suits and barked orders. "Ma'am, this way please." A uniformed crew member grabs her modest secondhand suitcase, the one containing her spare clothes and the nursing textbooks she studies between shifts. "Wait, I think there's been a—" Jasmine starts, but the man's already moving, gesturing toward the sleek aircraft. The jet's interior hits her like a physical force. White leather seats stretch in pristine rows, golden trim catching the ambient lighting. Crystal glasses sit ready in custom holders. The air smells of expensive cologne and new leather, nothing like the industrial cleaners and stale coffee she's used to. Before she can turn around, the cabin door seals shut with a soft hiss. The engines roar to life. Jasmine's heart drops into her stomach as the aircraft begins to taxi. Through the small window, the terminal building shrinks away. Her breath comes in short bursts as the reality crashes over her like ice water. She's airborne. Turbulence rocks the cabin as Jasmine stumbles forward, her hands gripping seat backs for balance. The jet tilts, and she tumbles directly into the aisle, her headscarf slipping loose to reveal her natural curls. From the front of the cabin, a pair of dark eyes look up from a silver laptop screen. Dominic Hayes is exactly what Jasmine expected a billionaire to look like, and nothing like she imagined at the same time. At 38, his features are sharp enough to cut glass. High cheekbones, strong jaw, dark hair that looks deliberately tousled. His white shirt is unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms that speak of more than just boardroom work. But it's his eyes that stop her cold. They're the color of storm clouds, and right now, they're fixed on her with laser focus. "What the hell are you doing on my plane?" His voice carries the kind of authority that makes Fortune 500 executives sweat. Jasmine's mouth opens and closes like a fish gasping for air. I think there's been a mistake, sir." "You think?" Dominic closes the laptop with a sharp snap. "Care to explain how a maid ends up 30,000 feet in the air on a private jet to the Maldives?" The word Maldives hits Jasmine like a slap. The Maldives. As in, the other side of the planet. As in, her shift at the hospital starts tomorrow night, and she absolutely cannot miss it. "Sir, please, you have to turn the plane around." Her voice cracks on the last word. "I have work tomorrow. I have responsibilities." Dominic's expression shifts from irritation to something colder. "Do you have any idea what it costs to fuel this aircraft? What it costs to file a flight plan? To arrange?" Another bout of turbulence sends Jasmine sliding across the aisle, landing hard in the leather seat directly opposite him. The proximity forces them into an unintentional staring contest. This close, she can see the fine lines around his eyes, stress lines that speak of sleepless nights and endless pressure. His cologne is subtle, expensive, cedar and something crisp she can't identify. "I'm not a con artist," she says quietly, meeting his stare. "I'm not a stowaway. I cleaned the terminal lounge on the night shift. I was supposed to catch the staff shuttle home after work, but your people grabbed my suitcase and—" "My people don't make mistakes." "Everyone makes mistakes, sir." The silence stretches between them like a taut wire. Outside the window, clouds drift past in endless white formations. A flight attendant appears from the galley, her pristine uniform and perfect smile wavering when she sees Jasmine. "Mr. Hayes is everything." "Contact ground control." Dominic's voice cuts through the cabin like a blade. "I want to know exactly how a cleaning lady ended up on my aircraft." The attendant's face goes pale. "Sir, I'll check with the captain immediately." As she retreats toward the cockpit, Jasmine finds her voice. Please don't get them in trouble. This isn't their fault. Whose fault is it then? Before Jasmine can answer, the attendant returns, her professional composure cracking. Sir, there was confusion on the tarmac. Two aircraft, similar appearance. The ground crew loaded. They mixed up. She trails off, unable to meet his eyes. They mixed up luggage and passengers. Each word drops like a stone into still water. The flight plan is filed. We're over international waters. The captain says. The captain says what? Turning back would require emergency protocols. Coast Guard involvement. It would be complicated. Dominic's jaw tightens until Jasmine can see the muscle jumping beneath his skin. She's seen that look before. On her mother's face when the bills piled up, on her father's face before he walked out. It's the look of someone realizing they're not as in control as they thought. How long to the Maldives? He asks without looking at either of them. 14 hours, sir. 14 hours. Jasmine closes her eyes and does the math. By the time they land, by the time she can arrange a flight back, if she can afford it, she'll have missed her shift. Missed her shift means losing her job. Losing her job means no nursing school. No nursing school means I'll arrange for her return immediately upon arrival. Dominic says, his tone suggesting the conversation is over. Thank you, Jasmine whispers. It's not enough, but it's something. The flight attendant retreats again, leaving them alone with the hum of engines and the weight of unwanted proximity. 2 hours into the flight, the tension has settled into something almost bearable. Dominic has returned to his laptop, fingers flying across keys as he manages what Jasmine assumes must be millions of dollars in deals. She sits rigid in her seat, afraid to move, afraid to breathe too loudly. Are you going to sit there like a statue for 12 more hours? He asks without looking up. I didn't want to disturb you. You being on my plane is already disturbing me. You might as well be comfortable while you're here. It's not exactly permission, but it's something. Jasmine shifts in the leather seat, marveling despite herself at how it molds to her body. She's never sat in anything this expensive. What do you do? Dominic asks suddenly. When you're not accidentally boarding private jets. I clean. And I study. Study what? Nursing. The word comes out defensive, like she expects him to laugh. He doesn't laugh. Instead, he looks at her properly for the first time since takeoff. Not with irritation or suspicion, but with something that might be curiosity. Which program? Community college. I work nights, study during the day. It's slow going. How slow? Jasmine hesitates. She's never told anyone this, never admitted out loud how impossibly far away her dreams feel sometimes. At this rate, 6 years, maybe 7. Dominic's fingers pause over his keyboard. That's a long time. It's the only way I can afford it. The silence that follows isn't uncomfortable. It's thoughtful, heavy with unspoken questions. Through the window, the sun is beginning to set, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. The staff will bring dinner soon, Dominic says. I assume you eat. Despite everything, Jasmine almost smiles. When I can afford to. This time, he does look at her, really looks at her. And for just a moment, the billionaire mask slips. She sees something raw underneath, something that recognizes the weight of her words. On this plane, he says quietly, you can afford to. Dinner is served on china so delicate Jasmine is afraid to hold it. The flight attendant, who introduced herself as Sarah, explains each course with the reverence usually reserved for religious artifacts. Pan-seared Chilean sea base with microgreens and citrus reduction. The wine is a 2015 Chablis Premier Cru. Jasmine stares at the plate, overwhelmed. The fish is perfectly golden, arranged like art. Back home, dinner is usually whatever's on sale at the grocery store, eaten standing over the kitchen counter while reviewing flashcards. Across from her, Dominic cuts his food with surgical precision. His movements are economical, practiced. Everything about him speaks of control, of a life where every detail is managed and optimized. You don't have to eat it if you don't want to, he says, noticing her hesitation. It's beautiful. I've never eaten anything like this before. It's just fish. Just fish that probably costs more than I make in a week. Something flickers across his face, surprise, maybe, like it hadn't occurred to him that someone might calculate the cost of a meal. What do you usually eat, he asks. Ramen, peanut butter sandwiches, whatever's cheap and fills you up. The fork pauses halfway to his mouth. While you're studying? While I'm studying, working, sleeping. When you're trying to stretch $20 for a week's worth of food, you get creative. Dominic sets down his fork entirely. For a moment, he just looks at her, and Jasmine has the uncomfortable feeling he's seeing something he's never noticed before. Try the fish, he says finally. She does. The first bite is a revelation, buttery, delicate, with flavors she doesn't have words for. She must make a sound because Dominic's mouth curves in what might be the beginning of a smile. Good. Incredible. They eat in comfortable silence as the sky darkens outside the windows. The cabin lights dim automatically, casting everything in a warm, golden glow. Can I ask you something? Jasmine ventures as Sarah clears their plates. You can ask. Why the Maldives? I mean, what's there that you can't get anywhere else? Dominic's expression shudders. Privacy. Privacy from what? From everyone wanting something. From board meetings and shareholders, and he stops abruptly, like he's revealed more than he intended. From people like me, Jasmine says quietly, you're not asking for anything. That's because I'm not supposed to be here. He looks at her then, really looks at her, and something passes between them. An understanding, maybe, or recognition. No, he says, you're not. Jasmine wakes to Sarah gently shaking her shoulder. Miss Williams, we're beginning our descent. Through the window, paradise unfolds below them. The water is so blue it looks artificial, like someone cranked up the saturation on a postcard. White sand beaches form perfect crescents around emerald islands. It's the most beautiful thing Jasmine has ever seen. How do you get used to this? She asks, forgetting for a moment who she's talking to. Dominic looks up from packing his laptop. You don't. You just stop seeing it. The plane touches down on what looks like a runway carved directly from coral. Palm trees line both sides, their fronds swaying in the tropical breeze. As they taxi to a stop, Jasmine can see a small terminal building and, beyond it, pristine white sand stretching into impossibly clear water. Mr. Hayes. A man in a crisp white uniform appears as they disembark. Welcome back to Villa Private Island. Your villa is prepared, and we've arranged. His eyes fall on Jasmine, and his professionally smooth expression falters. There's been a situation, Dominic says before the man can speak. Miss Williams will need accommodation until we can arrange her return flight. Of course, sir. We have several staff quarters. A guest villa. The words hang in the tropical air like a challenge. The resort manager's eyebrows rise fractionally. Sir, a guest villa, Dominic repeats. With ocean view. Full service. Jasmine starts to protest. She can't possibly afford whatever this costs, but Dominic silences her with a look. My mistake brought her here, he tells the manager. She's my guest until she chooses to leave. The villa is a dream made manifest. Built from warm teak and coral stone, it seems to grow from the landscape itself. Floor-to-ceiling windows open onto a private terrace where an infinity pool merges seamlessly with the ocean beyond. The bedroom is larger than Jasmine's entire apartment back home. This is too much, she says to the staff member unpacking her modest suitcase. The woman, Amara, she introduced herself, just smiles. Mr. Hayes was very specific about your comfort, Miss Williams. Call me Jasmine. Please. Of course. Dinner is served at 8 if you'd like to join the other guests. Or we can arrange private dining. Other guests. The thought makes Jasmine's stomach clench. She has exactly 2 sets of clean clothes, neither of which belongs in a place like this. I think I'll just stay here tonight. Mr. Hayes mentioned you might prefer that. Amara opens a wardrobe Jasmine hadn't noticed. Inside hangs several dresses, casual clothes, even swimwear. He took the liberty of having our boutique select a few items. All returnable, of course, if nothing suits. The clothes are beautiful, flowing fabrics in ocean colors, simple cuts that look effortlessly elegant. Each piece probably costs more than Jasmine makes in a month. I can't accept this. He anticipated you might say that. Amara's smile is warm, understanding. He asked me to tell you that his mistake shouldn't compound by making you uncomfortable. These are just tools, like a uniform. After Amara leaves, Jasmine stands on the terrace watching the sun set over the Indian Ocean. The water changes from turquoise to gold to deep purple as night falls. Stars appear one by one in the clear sky, more stars than she's ever seen from her apartment in New Jersey. Her phone has no signal, which is probably for the best. By now, her supervisor has tried to call about her no-show. By now, questions are being asked that she can't answer from 14,000 miles away. A soft knock interrupts her thoughts. She opens the door to find a server with a silver tray. "From Mr. Hayes," the young man says. "He thought you might be hungry." The tray holds simple food: grilled fish, rice, tropical fruit. Nothing intimidating or complicated. A note lies beside the plate, written in sharp, decisive handwriting. Asterisk, tomorrow we'll figure out getting you home. Tonight, just exist. D asterisk. Jasmine holds the note for a long time, reading it over and over. When was the last time someone told her it was okay to just exist? When was the last time she'd done anything but work, study, worry, survive? She eats dinner on the terrace, listening to waves lap against the shore below. For the first time in years, she lets herself simply be present in a moment instead of calculating the next step, the next bill, the next obligation. It's terrifying and wonderful at the same time. Jasmine wakes before dawn, disoriented by the absence of traffic, noise, and sirens. Through the villa's windows, the ocean is a sheet of silver glass. She slept better than she has in months. A soft knock draws her to the door. This time it's Dominic himself, holding 2 cups of coffee and looking oddly uncertain. "I thought, would you like to walk on the beach?" he asks. Before it gets crowded. She's wearing one of the dresses from the wardrobe, simple blue cotton that moves like water. He's in khaki shorts and a white linen shirt, looking more relaxed than she's ever seen him. They walk in comfortable silence along the shoreline, bare feet sinking into sand so white it seems to glow. The water is bathwater warm when the waves reach their ankles. "How did you sleep?" he asks. "Like the dead." "You." "I don't sleep much anywhere." She glances at him sideways. Guilty conscience. The question surprises a laugh out of him. A real laugh, not the polished chuckle she heard on the plane. Something like that. They reach a point where the beach curves around a rocky outcropping. Here, completely alone, Dominic stops walking and stares out at the horizon. "Can I ask you something?" he says. "You can ask." He smiles at her echo of his words from the night before. "What do you think of all this?" He gestures at the resort, the luxury, the impossible beauty surrounding them. Honestly, Jasmine considers her answer carefully. "It's beautiful. It's the most beautiful place I've ever seen. But it also feels lonely," he finishes. She looks at him in surprise. "Yes, even with a full staff, constant service, everything arranged and managed and perfect, it's the loneliest place on earth." There's something raw in his voice, something that makes Jasmine want to reach out and touch his arm. She doesn't, but the impulse surprises her. "Is that why you came here? To be alone?" "I came here to think. About a deal that could change everything or destroy everything, depending on how it goes." "Sounds stressful." "Everything in my world is stressful." They start walking again, heading back toward the resort. Other guests are beginning to appear. Couples in expensive resort wear, families with children and nannies. "What's it like?" Jasmine asks. "Having that much power? Responsibility? Exhausting." He pauses. "Everything I do affects hundreds of people. Thousands, if you count suppliers, contractors, subsidiaries. Every decision ripples outward. You can't just exist when that much depends on you." Jasmine thinks about his note from the night before. Asterisk, tonight. Just exist, asterisk, and wonders if he was talking to himself as much as to her. "That's why you don't sleep," she says. "That's why I don't sleep." They've reached the resort's main building, where staff members are setting up breakfast service on the terrace. Other guests look up as they approach, and Jasmine sees the exact moment when their easy camaraderie becomes something more complicated. Whispers follow them. Curious glances. The kind of attention Jasmine has spent her life trying to avoid. "You should probably." She starts. "Probably what?" "Get back to your world. I don't belong in it." Dominic stops walking. "What if I said I'm tired of my world?" The question hangs between them like a bridge neither is sure they should cross. That evening, despite Jasmine's protests, Dominic insists she join him for dinner on the resort's main terrace. She's wearing one of the dresses from the villa, midnight blue silk that transforms her into someone she doesn't quite recognize. "You look." Dominic begins as they're seated at a table overlooking the lagoon. "Like I'm playing dress up?" "Like yourself. Just enhanced." The compliment catches her off guard. She's used to being invisible, forgettable. Being seen, really seen, is both thrilling and terrifying. The terrace is elegant without being ostentatious. Candles flicker on white linen, and the gentle sound of waves provides a natural soundtrack. Other guests dine quietly at nearby tables, their conversations a low murmur in the tropical night. Tell me about nursing school, Dominic says as their appetizers arrive. What do you want to know? Why nursing? Why not something easier? Jasmine cuts her food carefully, thinking. My grandmother raised me after my parents, after they couldn't anymore. She had diabetes, kidney problems, spent a lot of time in hospitals. The nurses were the ones who made her feel human when everyone else just saw a case number. And you want to be that for someone else. I want to be the person who sees people, really sees them. Something shifts in Dominic's expression. That's rare. What about you? What made you want to build, whatever it is you've built? Control, he says simply. Growing up, we never had control over anything. Money, security, where we lived, what happened to us. I swore I'd never be powerless again. And now I have more control than any one person should have. And it's still not enough. They're interrupted by laughter from a nearby table. A group of couples in their 40s and 50s, drinks flowing freely, voices getting louder. Saw him walking on the beach with some girl this morning. Probably another gold digger. You'd think he'd learned by now. Jasmine's cheeks burn. She starts to stand, but Dominic's hand covers hers on the table. Ignore them, he says quietly. But the voices carry clearly in the night air. I heard she's some kind of maid or something. How did she even get here? Desperate times call for desperate measures, I suppose. The laughter that follows is sharp, cruel. Jasmine feels every eye on the terrace turn toward their table. The weight of judgment, of assumptions, presses down on her like a physical force. She knows this feeling. She's lived with it her whole life. The welfare kid, the scholarship student, the cleaning lady. Always out of place, always aware she doesn't belong. I should go, she whispers. No. Dominic, they're right. I don't belong here. This isn't my world. Screw their world. His voice carries farther than he intended. The nearby conversations falter. The laughter dies. One of the men, silver-haired, expensive watch, the kind of tan that comes from yacht clubs and golf courses, leans back in his chair with a smirk. Something wrong, Hayes? The challenge in his voice is unmistakable. Jasmine can feel the moment crystallizing, becoming something bigger than dinner conversation. Dominic's hand tightens on hers. When he speaks, his voice is deadly quiet. Just enjoying dinner with my guest, Richards. Is that a problem? No problem at all. Richard's smile doesn't reach his eyes. Though I have to say, she's quite a departure from your usual type. My usual type? You know, society girls. Trust fund babies. Women who belong in places like this. The terrace has gone completely silent. Even the staff have stopped moving, sensing the tension crackling through the air like electricity before a storm. Jasmine starts to stand again, but this time Dominic stands with her. His movement is fluid, controlled, but she can feel the anger radiating from him like heat. You're right, he says, his voice carrying to every corner of the terrace. She's nothing like the women I usually spend time with. Jasmine's heart sinks. This is it. The moment he admits she doesn't belong. The moment he steps back into his world and leaves her outside looking in. But Dominic isn't finished. She's worked 3 jobs to put herself through school. She takes care of her grandmother and studies nursing because she wants to help people, not because she's looking for a career that sounds impressive at cocktail parties. He takes a step closer to Richard's table, and his voice grows stronger. She's never asked me for anything. Not money, not favors, not connections. She's here by accident, and the only thing she's worried about is getting home in time for her next shift. The silence on the terrace is absolute now. Even the ocean seems to be holding its breath. So you're right, Dominic continues. She's nothing like the women I usually meet. She's authentic. She's real. She has more integrity in her little finger than most people in your tax bracket have in their entire bodies. Richard's face has gone red. Now see here. I'm not finished. Dominic's voice cuts through the night like a blade. Jasmine Williams is worth 10 of any woman you've ever had dinner with. She's worth 10 of most men I know. And if you have a problem with her being here, you can take it up with me directly. The silence that follows is deafening. Jasmine can hear her own heartbeat, can feel the weight of every stare on the terrace. Richards looks around the table at his companions, seeking support that doesn't come. His wife won't meet his eyes. The other couples suddenly find their wine glasses fascinating. I, I didn't mean any offense, he mutters finally. Yes, Dominic says quietly. You did. Back in Jasmine's villa, they sit on the terrace in stunned silence. The confrontation replays in her mind like a movie she can't stop watching. You didn't have to do that, she says finally. Yes, I did. They're your people. Your social circle or whatever. No. Dominic turns to look at her, his eyes intense in the moonlight. They're not my people. They're just people with money. There's a difference. Jasmine draws her knees up to her chest, wrapping her arms around them. I've never had anyone defend me like that. Never. Never. Growing up, when kids made fun of my clothes or where I lived, I learned to just take it. Keep my head down. Don't make waves. That must have been lonely. She laughs, but there's no humor in it. Lonely? Try invisible. Do you know what it's like to go through school, work, life, feeling like you don't matter? Like you're just background noise. Dominic is quiet for a long moment. Yes, he says finally. I do. Really. Before the money, before any of this. I was nobody. Foster homes, group homes, aging out of the system with nothing. I know what it feels like to be looked through instead of looked at. This revelation hangs between them like a bridge. Suddenly, his need for control makes perfect sense. The loneliness, the walls, the careful distance he maintains from everyone. It's all protection. What changed, she asks. I got lucky. Made the right investment at the right time. Then another. Then another. Built walls so high that nobody could hurt me again. And now the walls are so high I can't see over them anymore. They sit in comfortable silence, watching the moon's reflection dance on the water. The resort around them hums with quiet luxury, staff moving efficiently through their routines, guests enjoying their paradise. What happens tomorrow? Jasmine asks. Tomorrow I arrange your flight home. Back to your job, your studies, your real life. And tonight? Dominic looks at her, and for a moment the billionaire mask drops completely. She sees the foster kid, the young man who built an empire out of fear and determination. She sees someone who's forgotten how to be seen for who he really is. Tonight, he says, we exist. Jasmine wakes to find Dominic sitting on her terrace, fully dressed, staring out at the ocean. His laptop is open beside him, but the screen is dark. Couldn't sleep? She asks, joining him. Had some thinking to do. She settles into the chair beside him, noting the tension in his shoulders. About your deal? About a lot of things. The sun is just beginning to rise, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. It's her last morning in paradise, and the thought fills her with unexpected sadness. I called my pilot, Dominic says. He can have you back in New Jersey by tonight. Thank you. Your job, will they take you back? Jasmine shrugs. Maybe. I'll have to grovel a little, make up some story about a family emergency. But probably. And if they don't, then I'll find another job. There's always work for people willing to clean up after others. Dominic winces at her matter-of-fact tone. What about nursing school? What about it? Don't give up on it. I'm not giving up. I'm being realistic. Some dreams take longer than others. Some dreams need help. Something in his voice makes her look at him more closely. Dominic, what if I told you there was another way? What kind of way? He turns to face her fully. What if I told you I could arrange for you to finish nursing school in 2 years instead of 6? Jasmine's breath catches. I'd say that sounds too good to be true. Full scholarship. Living expenses covered. The best program in the state. In exchange for what? The question hangs between them. Jasmine has learned that nothing in life comes without a price, especially nothing this big. Nothing, Dominic says quietly. No strings. No expectations. Just let someone help who has the means to help. I can't accept that. Why not? Because I don't take charity. It's not charity. It's investment. In what? In someone who sees people. Really sees them. The world needs more nurses like you're going to be. Tears prick at Jasmine's eyes. She's dreamed of this moment. Of someone believing in her enough to offer real help. But accepting feels like betraying everything she's worked for. I need to think about it, she says. Of course. They sit in silence as the sun climbs higher, burning away the morning mist. Other guests begin to appear on the beach below, ready for another day in paradise. Can I ask you something? Jasmine says. Anything. What are you going to do? After I leave? Dominic is quiet for so long she thinks he won't answer. I don't know, he says finally. For the first time in 20 years, I honestly don't know. The flight home passes in a blur of clouds and contemplation. Dominic has given her space to think, spending most of the journey on calls and laptop work. But occasionally, she catches him looking at her with an expression she can't quite read. As they descend toward Teterboro, the reverse of their accidental journey, Jasmine feels like she's waking up from the most vivid dream of her life. Your decision, Dominic says as they taxi to the terminal. About the scholarship. There's no pressure, no timeline. Think about it as long as you need. And if I say yes, then you say yes. If you say no, you say no. Either way, nothing changes between us. There is no us, Dominic. There's your world and my world, and they don't overlap. He's quiet for a moment. Maybe they should. The aircraft door opens, letting in the familiar sounds and smells of New Jersey. Reality crashes back over Jasmine like cold water. Her phone buzzes back to life, immediately flooding with messages. Her supervisor, wondering where she is. Her study group, asking about missed assignments. Bills to pay, responsibilities to meet. This is me, she says, standing to collect her suitcase. Jasmine. She turns back to him. Whatever you decide about the scholarship, thank you. For what? For reminding me what it feels like to be seen. She wants to say something profound, something that captures the strange intimacy of their shared accident. Instead, she just nods and walks away, back into her real life. But as the terminal door closes behind her, she can't shake the feeling that something fundamental has shifted. That the woman walking away from that plane is not quite the same as the one who accidentally boarded it 3 days ago. Jasmine stands in the hallway of Mercy General Hospital, wearing scrubs that actually fit and a stethoscope that belongs to her. The nursing program acceptance letter is framed on her apartment wall, next to a photo of a blue ocean she'll probably never see again. She took the scholarship. After weeks of internal debate, pride warring with practicality, she called the number on the business card Dominic had slipped into her suitcase. Not to accept charity, she told herself, but to accept investment in someone who would use the opportunity to help others. The work is hard, harder than cleaning, harder than juggling 3 jobs while studying. But it's hers in a way nothing has ever been hers before. Her supervisor approaches with a clipboard. Williams, you're assigned to room 314. Post-surgical patient. Needs vitals every hour. Jasmine nods and heads down the corridor, her soft-soled shoes silent on the polished floor. She's learned to move efficiently through these halls, to read the subtle signs of patient distress, to balance compassion with professional distance. Room 314 is at the end of the hall, and as she approaches, something makes her pause. Through the partially open door, she can see expensive flowers on the windowsill, orchids and birds of paradise that don't come from the hospital gift shop. A suit jacket hangs on the visitor's chair, tailored and familiar. Her heart does something complicated in her chest. She knocks softly and enters. The patient is elderly, post-cardiac surgery, sleeping peacefully with monitors beeping steadily. But it's the man sitting beside the bed who makes her breath catch. Dominic looks up from the book he's been reading aloud, something thick and literary that seems at odds with his reputation. His hair is shorter than she remembers, his face leaner, but his eyes are the same storm cloud gray that haunted her dreams for weeks after returning home. Hello, Jasmine. Mr. Hayes. She keeps her voice professional, clinical. I'm here to check on the patient. My grandfather, he says quietly. Heart surgery yesterday. They say he's doing well. She moves around the bed efficiently, checking monitors, adjusting the 4-drip, taking notes on her chart. Her hands are steady, but she can feel his eyes following her movements. You look. He starts. Different, she finishes. Scrubs instead of evening wear. I was going to say like you belong here. The compliment hits deeper than it should. She finishes her checks and turns to leave. Jasmine. She pauses at the door but doesn't turn around. Thank you, he says, for taking the scholarship, for becoming who you were meant to be. Don't thank me yet. I've got 2 years to go. You'll make it. You were always going to make it. This time she does turn, and the look in his eyes stops her cold. It's not pity or condescension or even gratitude. It's something rarer, something she's never seen directed at her before. It's pride. Not possessive pride, not the satisfaction of a benefactor seeing their investment pay off. It's the pride of one person recognizing another's strength, their journey, their worth. He's lucky to have you here, Dominic says, nodding toward his grandfather. To have someone who sees him as more than just another case. That's the job. No, that's who you are. The monitor beeps change rhythm slightly, drawing their attention back to the sleeping man. Jasmine adjusts his position slightly, checks his oxygen levels, makes another note. I should go, she says. Other patients need checking. Of course. But she doesn't move immediately. Something keeps her rooted to the spot, some unfinished business that has nothing to do with medical care. The Maldives, she says finally. Do you still go there? No. Why not? Dominic considers his answer carefully. It stopped feeling like peace. Started feeling like hiding. And what do you do now instead? I try to see people. Really see them. Turns out that's harder than it sounds, but more worthwhile than anything I've ever done. The words hang between them like a bridge, just like they did on that terrace 6 months ago. But this time, Jasmine doesn't walk away from it. Your grandfather, she says. What's he like? Stubborn. Proud. Spent his whole life working construction, building things with his hands. He raised me after the foster system gave up. He sounds like someone worth seeing. He is. Jasmine checks her watch. She has 6 more patients to visit before her shift ends, medication schedules to maintain, families to update. Her real life, the one she built with her own hands and someone else's faith. But for just a moment longer, she allows herself to stand in this room with this man and the sleeping grandfather who shaped him, feeling the weight of connection and possibility and second chances. I'll be back to check on him in an hour, she says. We'll be here. As she walks back down the corridor, Jasmine realizes that the woman who accidentally boarded a billionaire's jet 6 months ago, the one who was invisible, forgettable, just passing through, is truly gone. In her place walks someone who belongs where she is, who has found her place in the world not through accident, but through choice. The scholarship helped. Dominic's faith in her helped. But in the end, she saved herself. And sometimes, late at night when she's studying for exams or caring for patients who need someone to see them as more than their conditions, she remembers what it felt like to be defended, to be valued, to be seen. Not because someone took pity on her, but because someone recognized what was already there. The woman walking down this hospital corridor carries that knowledge like light in her chest. She is Jasmine Williams, nursing student, caregiver, someone who matters. Someone who belongs exactly where she is. 3 hours later, as her shift ends, Jasmine finds herself back at room 314. The elderly man is awake now, his eyes alert and curious. Dominic is still there, but now he's laughing at something his grandfather said, a real laugh, unguarded and warm. How are we feeling, Mr. Hayes? She asks the patient. Like I've been hit by a truck, but I'm told that's normal. His voice is rough but strong. You must be the nurse my grandson's been talking about. Jasmine glances at Dominic, who has the grace to look slightly embarrassed. Just checking on your recovery, sir. He told me about the plane. The old man continues, ignoring her professional deflection. About how you ended up in the middle of the ocean with him. It was an accident. Best things usually are. His eyes twinkle with mischief. You know, he's been different since then. Lighter somehow. Like he remembered something he'd forgotten. Grandpa, Dominic warns. What? I'm just saying thank you to the young lady. Not often someone reminds my grandson he's human. Jasmine finishes checking his vitals, her movements efficient but gentle. As she prepares to leave, the old man catches her hand. You take care of yourself, nurse. World needs more people like you in it. Thank you, sir. I'll see you tomorrow. As she reaches the door, Dominic's voice stops her one more time. Jasmine. She turns. That accident, he says quietly. Best mistake I ever made. She smiles then, the first real smile she's given him since he walked back into her life. Mine too. And as she walks away this time, she knows with absolute certainty that she's exactly where she's supposed to be. Not by accident, not by charity, but by choice. The cleaning lady who accidentally boarded a billionaire's jet is gone forever. In her place walks Jasmine Williams. Nurse, healer, someone who sees and is seen. Someone who finally, completely belongs. If you made it to the end, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. It truly means the world to us. See you in the next one.